Yeah, good morning once again and welcome to today's class. We'll be going into JavaScript, which is Introduction to JavaScript. As a front-end developer, everything you would be working on is includes UI and also functionalities. Your UI is what you make use of CSS and what we have done over the couple of weeks. We have done HTML and CSS, which is the structure, the design. And now for functionalities, for you to be able to change some things, okay, you have to click a button and the button respond. Everything that concerns functionalities, that is what that's what JavaScript entails. All all encompassing. Any kind of animation, any kind of clicking, you want to send a message from your front end to your server, to anything you can just think of that does not involve UI. You also want to change the color. You want to dynamically change the color of your page from yellow to black just on the click of a button, just while you are scrolling your screen. Anything you can think of, JavaScript can do it. So, what is JavaScript? JavaScript is Java. Let me just put this out there before I explain JavaScript. JavaScript is actually different from Java. They are two different things. And one of the major reasons why it's called JavaScript, the real name for JavaScript is actually called ECMAScript. But when ECMAScript came out then, over like 10, 20, I can't remember how many years ago, but while it came out back then, it was it was Java that was reigning in that during that time. Yeah, I read it some when I was actually doing it. Java was actually what was reigning during that period, and then they looked at it. What is the best way we could sell? It's just branding. What is the best way we could sell this product? Everybody is popular about Java, and we are coming with ECMAScript. ECMAScript is going to take a while before it flies. But by the time they added Java to the script, okay, they just removed ECMAScript and they added JavaScript. What is the next thing? Everything about it started going, and people started adopting it. So until date, most developers who started using JavaScript brilliantly and didn't read the core history about JavaScript would never know that it was named ECMAScript. So I just want you to know that. So you might see it in some of your coding challenge, some of your graduate training program. That okay, what was JavaScript first name? You will see JavaScript, you will see ECMAScript, and the likes. But just have that at the back of your mind that yes, it's ECMAScript. The real name is not actually JavaScript. That's just on the side. So, what is JavaScript? JavaScript is an high-level object-oriented programming language. So, it's everything you want to do is high level. Is now that you're now dealing with data, you're now manipulating stuff and the like. So that's what JavaScript does. I wrote here that JavaScript is a scripting and programming language that allow you to implement complex features on a website, including websites, and just more than just displaying static data. And you can also integrate animation and all kind of things which I've said earlier. And JavaScript is one of the most popular programming language in the world, and JavaScript is also a programming language of the web. One thing about JavaScript is multi-dimensional. You can use JavaScript for the web. You can use JavaScript for for mobile. You can use JavaScript for backend development. So there's really nothing you can use JavaScript for. JavaScript is across all dimensions. Anything you can think of, any programming language, anything JavaScript can do it. From backend to frontend to mobile to cloud computing to anything. Just think about it. JavaScript will be able to. And one thing I can also tell you is JavaScript is actually easy to learn if you actually calm down and look into it properly. So let's go to our VS Code, which is our working tool. So I just have a simple HTML structure here, and this is what we have on our browser, which is just this. And for now, we don't have anything on our HTML, which is what we are going to be working with. And how do you link your JavaScript with your HTML? I think someone asked that question in the last class, and I said that there are three ways of linking your JavaScript to your HTML. The first way is you either do it inline, the same way we have always been doing it from the beginning. You either do it inline, you do your JavaScript inline, something here, You do that here. Let's do alert. You just write your alert function and alert hello world. And the hello world is one of the most popular stuff you write, which is always your first programming language. And you can see that is what comes up on your screen even before the page loads is. So you just write okay, and that's one thing I said in the last class, that when someone asks the question that why is it that you write your JavaScript at the bottom of your page, and I was trying to tell you that your HTML, and I explained in that class, but I didn't explain fully, was that HTML actually reads your code synchronously. That means it reads everything line by line. And when your code is written is when your code is being read line by line, one thing it does is if one function is not completed, every other line of code is going to be suspended, which is one thing about JavaScript. So over the course of anything you are going to be doing, if you are writing, if you are building a website, and some of the things you have to do are being some of the things you need to display some of the things you need to display on your website are coming from an external source, because that's some of the things you do in JavaScript. Those are some of the things you do in JavaScript which are coming from an external source. If those details does not arrive on the front end and you are doing something synchronously, they are going to be delayed on your website. And what peradventure that along the line the details does not come until like 10 minutes, so your users are not going to see any other thing on your website for like 10 minutes. So that's where asynchronous programming comes in. We'll talk about that later on in the future, but for now let's focus on the basics of JavaScript. So that's the first way you can actually include JavaScript inside your code. You either write it at the top level or you include it at the bottom level. That means after you have written everything on your website, after you have written everything on your HTML, then you write it right. You do it right here, and it's still the same way we link our CSS. You just write an SRC and you do it. Let's have our index.html file here. I said index of JavaScript, index.js. So as I've always made mention previously, everything you have to do is the name does not matter. It's just the prefix that actually matters. So let's write welcome to today's class. So I think I want someone to actually spot out some of the things we have right here to know if you understand what I just explained. SRC. So let's check it out. I'm coming. ID, just a second. So now you can actually see that. You can
Sorry,
actually see that.
Can you increase the screen? I'm not seeing clearly. Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to increase it. All right. Sorry for that. I actually just use actually minimize my screen most of the time. So when I'm working, but that's fine. I've done that. Is this okay, ID? Is this okay?
Thank you very
Is
much.
this okay?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you
Perfect.
very much.
Yeah. So I made mention that okay, now you can see that we have two JavaScript included in our code, and let's see how it works. The first one is the hello world. You can see that that's the first thing that comes up. Let's check our code structure. You can see that that's the first thing after the title and everything. That's the next line of code, which is alert, and it's alerting our hello world. And let's see. So once you click on hello world, you can see that our JavaScript, our page has loaded, but why is our JavaScript not loading? Our JavaScript file not loading. Why is our JavaScript file not loading? Why? Let's check it out. Alert, hello world. Let's comment out the first one. Just a second. Yeah, Adetiloye, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, it was a mistake, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so you can see, welcome to today's class. Our JavaScript is actually loading up. So is actually loading. So because we had two JavaScript. And I made mention in the last class that If you don't want your JavaScript to load first, there's actually a keyword which you use, which is called defer. You might not necessarily have to think about this, but along the line when you go on with your JavaScript, you actually want to, whenever we are building a large programming language and you want to use your JavaScript, you put it at the head, you put it at the head part of your code. Let's do this. And you use the defer keyword. Once you use the defer keyword, your page is actually going to load. Your page is actually going to load before your JavaScript. So you can see our JavaScript, our website has loaded before our JavaScript comes into play. Hilary, what's your question?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
I am seeing like a star open after the body and closing before the body. I don't know what that one is for particular. I don't know that you've seen it also.
What's that?
A star, a star like a star in a
I
tag
did inline styling now.
before the body.
I just did inline styling. Yeah. I don't want to have I don't want to have an external CSS. So I just did an inline styling. Yeah. So let me just do my style of CSS. So you should know inline styling by now. Internal styling rather, not inline. Internal styling.
Okay,
So I
hey,
did
you're saying inline. That's why I'm getting
internal styling.
confused.
Sorry, internal. You should also know that it was just a slip of tongue. It's just an internal styling. This is an internal styling. So I don't want to have external CSS just for this thing, just for having sake. So it's just how many lines of code? It's just like 6 lines or 8 lines of code.
Yes, I
That's
understand. I
uh,
understand it.
yeah. So do we understand how we link our JavaScript to our HTML? Anyone still confused on how to link JavaScript to HTML? I believe no one actually has any issues with that. So let's continue. Bolatife, go ahead.
So kind of like
Yeah?
like saying like I am hello, sir.
Yeah, I can
I
hear
am
you. Yeah, I can hear you.
I said like yeah, I said like confused. Saying like this quick run
I can't hear you. Your network is breaking.
on how to like hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I said can you like take a quick run on like the game because it's kind of like confusing.
Okay, what actually confused you there? Okay, don't worry. I'm going to take another run on it. Okay.
Is that,
The first thing is the
okay,
first thing is what do you need? The first thing is what do you need for a JavaScript to work? And this is it. For JavaScript, the same way you can either write it internally, which is what I did earlier, which is by writing this script and hello world right here at the top of our JavaScript here, over the top of our HTML, which is inline, which is internal rather, which is our internal linking of our style sheets, of our JavaScript rather. Let me not use style sheets. Of our JavaScript rather, which is alerting hello world. And you can also link your JavaScript, which is also the standard practice. As I've always said, it's not a good practice for you to have your HTML, your CSS, and JavaScript all in one file. It's good for you to have separation of concern. What is separation of concern? Your structure is in your HTML page. Everything about your structure is on your HTML page. And everything about your styling is in your style.css. And everything about your functionalities is also in your JavaScript file, which is what I did right here. So now, I took out this one and I linked our JavaScript at the top level, which is using the script src index.js, and I used a defer keyword. What is the meaning of this defer keyword? This defer keyword means that, as you can see from what JavaScript is VS Code is telling us here. It said script with the defer attribute will prevent your DOM content loaded event from firing until the script has finished loading and has been evaluated. So what that means is your HTML is going to be fully loaded. Your DOM element is going to be fully loaded, which is your HTML, before your JavaScript can be loaded. Boluwatife, do you understand? That is what the default keyword is used for in JavaScript. It's used to delay your JavaScript from running before your JavaScript starts running. Your HTML is going to load and your styling is going to load. Then your JavaScript now kicks in. Just like you putting stuff in a stack, in a box, and you're saying, okay, I don't want this person to enter until every other person has entered, but the person is the first person to come into play. So the JavaScript is on line 9, which is actually the first thing on your code. But you don't want it to load until every other thing has been loaded up. That is why we use the default keyword. Boluwatife, do you understand? Boluwatife?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understand now.
All right. So now that is how you write. That's how you include JavaScript into your code. And one of the other things we'll be looking at is let's say value and variables. So what are values and variables in JavaScript? Values in JavaScript are actually words. Okay, now you are writing, let's do this. You are writing name equals let's say name equals George. Let me use George. George. George is the first person I'm seeing right here. George. And this is it. Let's use a let. So now you can see here is that the value is actually George and the variable is name. So now if we want to actually display this George in our browser, we'll actually do something like console.log. This is how you display things on the browser. You use console.log, and you can see that in JavaScript there are some reserved keyword such as name, such as key, and some other reserved keyword. That's if you are using them, you'll be like, JavaScript is actually going to flag it off from the beginning. You can actually see it's telling me if you are using VS Code, it's going to tell you that, oh, this is a reserved keyword in JavaScript, and you can see it has already flagged it off already. So let's comment out this one, and let's change the name right here. So let me just use first name. Let's console.log first name here to see. Let's check our console. Oh, welcome to class. Okay, let's refresh it and we open our console. So for the time being of the class, what we'll be working with is actually our console. So okay, you can see we have George on line 5. Can anyone see my console? Please confirm you can see my console. Is my screen wide enough for you guys to see?
Yes, we can see it.
All right, so on line 5, you can see that we are console logging. What's the name? What we have written in our JavaScript file. So there are two ways of declaring a variable, which is the let and the const. What is a let? A let is actually flexible, which means that with let you can actually reassign your variable. Let's say now we have used a let here now. We have used let first name. So we now do something like, okay, first name equals Samson. So now, who can tell me which one is going to be rendered among the one we have on line 3 or the one we have on line 5? Which one is going to be rendered on line 7 if we check our browser? Can anyone just guess?
Line 5.
Why is it the one on line 5?
Assigned it top to bottom. You run from top to bottom.
Okay, read from top to bottom. That is perfect. That is one of the things. So let allows you to reassign your variable, and you can, and that's sometimes if you are also working, you would always want to reassign your variable, something such as number and the likes. You actually want to reassign it with your while you are writing your code. So now we have reassigned first name, and but you should know that sometimes there are some variables, there are some things that you are not going to reassign. Reason being that they are going to be like that from the beginning of your code to the end, and that's why you use something called const. Const means it's going to be constant. They are not going to change. Let's use surname. Surname equals Emmanuel. And also know that you should actually write your string. Everything we are writing is string, Samson. So I wanted to write Emmanuel, sorry. So yeah, now for a const, we can't actually reassign a const equals let's use John, and we are supposed to get an error. We are going to get an error in our console. Let's console log that. Let's do surname, and there's something called immutability. Let me use the standard word which you use in the developer world, which is for a let is mutable. That means you can actually change a let. But for a const is immutable. That means you can't change the initial assigned value of a const. You can't change it at any point in time. That means if you see a const, the const of the surname, that means the person's surname is a guy's, let's use a guy's surname, Emmanuel Isaac, for example. Your surname is Emmanuel. From your birth to the point you are going to eventually as you continue to live, your surname is going to be Emmanuel. At the only point whereby your surname is going to change is if you're a female. The female is actually, in some cultures, I don't know of all cultures, but in some cultures, the female is actually going to adopt the surname of the man. So a female surname is going to change. That means we can use the let for as long as before she get married, the lady is going to use the let. Her surname is always in let, and by the time she gets married, they reassign it to her husband's surname. Do you guys understand my analogy with let and const?
Yes.
Are you guys okay? All right. So let's check what we have in our browser, and we should actually have. You can see now. We have an error which says assignment to a const variable, which is, these are the ways there's something you actually also have to understand in JavaScript, which is how to read errors. If you can see now, it's telling me that this is a type error, which is assignment to a const variable on line 8. You can see now, let's come here, you can see that is even telling us where the error is coming from, which is this, that we are reassigning surname to John on line 8, which is not possible. There's no, as I've said, you can't reassign a const in JavaScript. So let's come back here and clear this out. Let's clear this out and see. And you can now see that on line 9, everything is working perfectly well. You can see that we have Samson and Emmanuel, which is the person's name. And let's also alert the name. Instead of using a const, we'll do something like this. Alert my name. My name is I'm coming. So now let's check this out. So you can see now that it's telling you that my name is Emmanuel Samuel. And that is how you actually console.log elements in JavaScript, which is this. And let's put this back. So you can see for me to be able to add a space, I thought we are supposed to be seeing the output on the browser. No, you can't see the output. You can't see the output of JavaScript on the browser. Okay, thank you, George, for answering that. Thank you. So I'll just move on. JavaScript is actually written on the developer console. It's when you are trying to manipulate an element. That's when you see the output on your browser. You can't actually see it because there's no how is it's not on the structure of the HTML page actually. So you can see now that we have this. My name is Samson Emmanuel. So that is how you add, that's how you check out the results of your element. So along the line, we'll have when we start building, if you want to see the result of what you're writing in your console on the browser, there's something called DOM manipulation. We are actually going to look at DOM manipulation as we go on. So these are the ways you assign variables to an element, which is either you use a const, or a let. Does anyone have any question with const and let? If you check other code bases, like old code bases, you see something like var. Let's say var, like this, var username equals Femi Blaze. So let's also Paul, what's your question?
Okay. My question is that you've been telling us.
Can you increase your voice?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear
Can you hear me now? Okay. The question
hear
is,
you clearly.
you've been telling us that there are some that you use let. Okay, let me say let, like they're like variables. Maybe constant are like parameters in an equation where you cannot change. That they are like constant, right? So
Yeah.
you've been telling us that there are some things in our website that does not change, while others change.
Yeah.
So maybe you just help us to tell us like example of things that change over time, things that does not change over time in the web page.
Okay, for that, it depends on your code actually. For example, now, if we are going to be if we are actually going to write if we are actually going to build a website, an application using JavaScript, a web application using JavaScript, you would, by the time you are getting your UI, you're actually going to know which one is going to change and which one is actually not going to change. Okay, for example, now let's say you have a date of birth. Now look at when you are filling your form. Let's say you have a form on your front end and you want to collect the user's date of birth, and you know that a user's date of birth a user's date of birth cannot change except there is a mistake. But let's just use our own assumption that yes, a user's date of birth, the date of birth the user is going to enter is always going to be correct. And you know that a user cannot change his date of birth. If you also check what's the name, email address, if you fill some form and you enter your email address and you are trying to edit your profile your profile, you can see that your email is unchangeable. That means it's always, you can't change it. That means that email is going to be what you are going to be using from the beginning of whenever you register till the end. Paul, do you understand? Just, there are some things that this is just a simple analogy. I can't give a definite thing that okay, at this point, oh, these are some things that are going to be static and these are some things that are going to change. It depends on the dynamics of your application actually. okay, you have been given a design, and okay, when you are going to implement the functionalities, you know that okay, these are the things that are going to be static. As you go on this website, these things are going to be static, and when you come back, and these things are going to be flexible. That's how that's how you are going to picture it. It depends on your design. I can't tell you at this point that okay, yes, this thing, oh, this person's name is going to be static. The person can't change his name over the course of period in the application. That's why I said it depends on your application. Paul, do you understand?
Yeah, well understood, sir.
All right. So whose hand is raised again? Damilola, go ahead.
I don't know if you can talk about this, the naming convention. When you're talking about assigning that
Yeah,
variable.
I'm going to talk about naming convention. I'm actually going to talk about naming convention. Yeah, Olasubosun, what's your question?
Yes, sir. It's just about this const that you just explained. I don't know
Okay.
if we can relate it to assigning to HTML, assigning to ID and class. Class can be changed, while ID is just one in a page, which can change. I don't know
No,
if
no,
we
no,
can
no.
relate
I
it
think
to
I
that.
think I think you're already mixing up ID and class together. Actually, there's no rule that says that you can only have one ID in your on your HTML page. There's no rules that says that. Actually, it's just we
No,
developers
Sam,
that
I
comes up.
okay, now I get. That means we can use ID more than once on a web
You can
page.
use ID more than once on your website, but it's just we
Okay,
developers. It's just a standard practice across
convention.
board. That when you want to use
Oh,
an ID, you don't use an ID more than once, or you just use it.
oh,
You just use an ID for a particular place, and you use a class for it. You can have ID. You can use ID all through your code. Nobody is going to hold you. You can also use a class all through your code. Nobody is going to hold you. But you just have to know which one you are going to be using over and overboard. So yeah, something like that. ID should just be for special case scenario, but it also depends on your. You can also use your own preference. As I said, you can use your own preference. That okay, you want your own class to be special, and across you'll be using ID all through. So it's just based on preference actually. So Olatiposun, do you understand?
yeah, yeah, very well, sir. Very well, sir.
All right. So thank you very much. So let's continue. Okay, there are some naming conventions in JavaScript actually, and the naming conventions are something that okay, these are the things that JavaScript accepts all round. You can't use if you use anything different from that, it's going to tell you unassignable. So something like this, these are the way we assign variable in JavaScript. You can either use a small letter, something like this, which I've done. What I used right here is called camel case. What I did right here with our let is called a camel case. Let let me write a comment in front of it. Camel camel case. Camel case. This is called Pascal case. Pascal case. Const. Let me use what should I use? CodeCamp. CodeCamp equals CodeCamp. This is called Pascal case. Pascal case. So you can see now there are different ways of actually naming your naming in JavaScript. Also, you can also do something. I can't remember the name of this actually, but you can use something like this: code underscore camp equals code camp. You can do something like this. Snake case. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. You can also do some is Ezekiel rather. You can also do something like this. let's use a let. You can actually even see that if we use a const, you can see that the color is different. On my own VS Code, I've actually configured my VS Code with prettier. If I'm using a const, let's try this. Let's do const KodeCamp underscore KodeCamp. I can't remember. I don't know what this one is, but I think this is another way of writing your of assigning a variable in JavaScript, something like this. But you can't do something like this. You can't do something like this. It's going to tell you this is an error. You can't start your variable naming with a number. Actually, you can't start your variable naming with a number. Actually, so these are one of the most frequent ways you actually name a variable in JavaScript. These first four, these are one of the most common ways. If you check through code base, this is something you will see over and over again. And for me, as a developer, I have been using camel case, where my first letter is going to be a small letter, and the middle, if it's going to be an adjoining text, is the next text that is going to be assigned to it is going to come in capital letter. I use camel case most of the time. So, who asked that question? What's the person that asked that question? Sorry, who asked that question the other time? Was it Boluwatife? Hello, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can.
No, sir, it's not.
Yeah, do you understand my explanation, Boluwatife?
I wasn't the one that asked the question.
Oh, sorry, please, who asked the question? I thought it was you, sorry. Who asked the question? Oh, Damilola, were you the one that asked the question, Damilola? Damilola Michael. Okay, probably Damilola. But do you guys understand the naming convention in JavaScript now? Do you want me to go over it again?
Yes, sir,
So,
please. Throw more light.
Okay. Francisca, where are
sorry, sir,
you kind of? Yeah, but what if I can hear you?
Sir, I don't know if you're but like you said you use your first
But
letter is
your
always small
network
letter.
is breaking, actually. I can't hear you clearly. Hello, Boluwatife.
Hello, can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
I think I'll type. I'll type.
All right. Yeah, Francisca, where are you kind of confused that you want me to throw more light on it? Francisca.
I said yes. I typed yes, but I understand.
Okay, all right. All right. So let's continue. And
not all this way or someone that was looking for. I just like, oh yeah, Muslim, I don't
Deborah,
mind.
Deborah, your mic is muted. All right. I guess that's a mistake actually. So now there are different kind of data type in JavaScript, which there are two type of data actually. There are two type of data. One is objects, which is this. One is object. You said you use camel case a lot, and you said the first letter is always some letter, and the rest. I said okay. When I said that I use camel case a lot, I said that the first letter is actually the first text. Okay, like I'm writing something that has first name now. It has two words together. That is first and name. So my first is going to be in small letter, and the first letter of my adjoining text or my adjoining word is going to come in capital letter. That is what I actually said. Bolwatife, do you understand? Like this. This is what I mean by camel case. My first letter is going to come in small letter, and if I have an adjoining text, I just have the first letter is going to come in capital letter and every other one is going to be in small letter. I can also use capital letter all through, something like this. Something like this. I can always use capital letter all through, but I can always use capital letter all through, so it doesn't really matter. So it's just based on personal. That's why I said if you check across board, if you check code bases, you would see that these are some of the standard practice people use over and over again. That's just it. Bola, do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, I
Damilola,
understand now.
Damilola, your hand was raised the other time. What's your question?
Just wanted to ask that is it a must for every variable to always be in camel casing?
No, it's just based on personal preference. Actually, you can actually use a small letter all through. Can actually use a small letter all through, which is something I did for this Sonnet now. It's just based
Okay.
on it's just based on personal preference. I have said my own personal preference is using camel case. If I write code, it's just recently. It's just recently when I started working in my current organization that I had to start using some kind of different kind of naming convention, because in the organization they have a specific way of naming files, and I use camel case, but they don't use camel case. What they use there is they do something like this. Let me write first name. Sorry, just a second. They do something. This is how they name their own variable. They do something like this. This is how it's not the variable actually. They use it to name a file, but for their own variable, if they are naming variable, they do something like this. First name. This is what they do. That's they use Pascal case. So for me, I use Camel case, but because I'm working in an organization, I have to, anytime I'm writing code, I just have to follow that naming convention. Though most times I forget, and when I'm trying to go through my code, I see it and I rename it. So that's just it. Everyone has different preference actually. Damla, do you understand?
Perfect. I understand. Thank you.
All right. Samson, your hand is raised. What's your question?
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
This Java is looking like Japanese to me, sir. But I just want to ask, these lets, cons, is it that we can use any of them to add functionality to our code or what, sir? I don't really get Jack, or I don't understand, sir. Please.
Okay. I said that these are what okay, George, please go ahead. You can unmute and speak. George.
Hello. Hi. Who asked that question? Please, what's your name? Samson, I
My
think.
name is Samson, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So follow me, just follow me, and let me try to use an analogy you can understand. Right now, let's assume that you have a door and you want to open the door, and the door has 5 different set of keys. Now, you cannot use every key to open a door, right? You can only use that 5 keys. Now, the problem is those 5 keys, one of it is a master key and one of it is a normal key. Now, when it comes to let, the let allows you change the variables differently. But the constant, like he says, is a constant. It's like saying this key, use it for only this door. Like that's the master key. So let me give you an analogy. You are Nigerian, right? So if I were to describe you, I would say he is Nigerian. That is my constant. That's the constant thing about you, Nigeria, right? Then I can now say, okay, he might be from might. Now listen, I'm using might in this instance. For the let, I might say, Samson might be maybe from Calabar or maybe from Ijo, right? Then let me see. I don't know where you're from, but I know constant that for constant you are in Nigeria. So I now say, okay, let's create something for Samson and let's use that constant that he's Nigerian. So we start and say const nationality, Samson is equals Nigerian, right? And then we say, let's say tribe be for instance, let's say Calabar. Now, I don't know what tribe you are, but I can just state that you are Calabar, for instance. Do you understand? Now, your nationality is Nigerian. Okay, I like that. Let's say your tribe is Calabar. Okay, so let's console.log. Let's console.log your tribe. Let's console.log your tribe. So you see why we use those terms. So console.log his tribe, and it will show that he's Calabar. So you're Calabar. Can you tell us where you're from, Samson?
Okay.
Hello, Samson.
Is it based on what you have? Is it based on what you have
Yes,
written?
yes, yes.
From
I
what you
want to
have
show
written,
you the
I'm
logic.
from Calabar. Yeah, I'm from
Are
Calabar.
you? No. Where are you from originally? You're not from. I'm
Oh,
assuming
okay,
you're from Calabar. So
Ondo.
I'm assuming.
Okay,
Yeah,
Ondo.
now Ondo.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so we now say
Yeah.
tribe equals Ondo. Now note that we don't need to change anything. We just need to reassign your tribe. We now say Ondo. If you console.log now, since we have now said your tribe is now Ondo, it now shows that you're from Ondo. Did you get it? We easily could change that,
Yeah.
but see what we cannot change. Let us do the same for your nationality. Let's try changing your nationality and see if it's possible. Let's see if we can change your nationality. Because we have said that your nationality is constant, which is the one thing we know for sure that that's where you're from. So let's see if that can happen. You see, we can't change that. Do you now understand?
Yeah.
Good. So the let and the const for this are used just to assign variables to you. The constant means that we can't change what you are. We can't change that fact. But the let allows us to consistently change variables assigned to you when we know certain information about you. That helps us in a way that we can start doing your project, for instance, without really having all the information about you. But we know it's malleable and we can change it. But if we know one consistent thing about you, we can use that all through our work. That's just what it means. It's not really that complicated. Do you understand?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, George. I think George will be handling explanation. Yeah, Hilary, go ahead.
Okay, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm actually understanding but getting confused. Can we relate it to a website and what it does to a website?
Someone just explained it now, what it does to the website, actually.
I okay, I understand the narrative it played, but I'm saying, like, for example, I don't know how it can be used if I want to, like, what is it used for in websites? I don't know that it gets the question I'm asking.
I don't understand
Is
your
it,
question, actually.
is it
Or
meant
George,
for this JavaScript? Is it meant for only developer? Because I'm not seeing the function on, like, the front end.
wait, when did you join the class?
I joined the
Did you
class from
join
the
it?
onset.
And you heard me when I said that if you want to see the result of the JavaScript on the front end, you do something like DOM manipulation.
Done manipulation. No, I didn't get that.
So there's something called DOM manipulation. So just calm down. We are going to get to that. We are still in the fundamentals of
Okay, sir.
JavaScript.
Okay. Sorry for being a hater, sir.
Just calm down. Yeah. So let's move on. So now I think we now understand the concept of let and const. So now let's now go to the different kind of data type we have. We have two,
Also,
two, two. We have basically two kind of data type, which I would like to call it data type, or two types of data, two types of value. Rather, let me use that one. Two types of value. One is an object. One is an object, which is object, and also another one is primitive value, object value and primitive value. primitive value. So for an object, you have in an object, you have something like this. An object just encompasses all the details about the person. Let's do this. So let's Samson equals, for an object, this is how you assign an object. So Samson, give me your name. Let me do this. Name equals Samson. Let me write first name. As I told you, name is actually a special case in JavaScript. So let me use first name. Let's have surname. What's your surname, Samson, please? I'm going to be using Samson for now. Let me just use Samson John.
Ogunbamike. Okay, John. Okay.
Okay, so let's have age. Let's have age as 30. I don't know. Let's have nationality. Nationality as Spanish. And let's have tribe. Let's have city. City as Madrid. So who can tell me why I'm having an error here? Why my city is actually showing an error? Can anybody tell me why my city is
You did
showing
not
an
close
error?
this pane. You did not close this pane. You did not close this pane.
There's no comma. A comma. After Spanish.
There's no comma. There's no comma. Yes. After the Spanish, sorry.
So that's how if you are writing an object, everything has to be closed with a comma, actually. But for me, I have done something to my VS Code that if I need a comma and I automatically save, the comma should be added. Does it work? It doesn't work for an object. But I know for a semicolon, if I do this, it automatically adds a semicolon to my variable name. So let's now console.log object, the Samson. So let's check this out. Why am I still having an alert here? Why am I still having this alert? Oh, yeah. There's a place I'm still assigning a constant variable. Okay, this is your nationality. You can see is my other code. Can you now see something now that this code is actually running synchronously? So because I still have this error right here on line 27, which I reassign nationality, is not allowing my other code to run. So that was one of the issues with JavaScript. Chinelo, can you go ahead? Chinelo, can you go ahead? Your hand is raised. Chinelo, if you are speaking, I can't hear you. Whose hand is raised again, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. I noticed something in the object variables. The closing used comma, but the other one you thought used semicolon.
Yes, because you are inside an object. You are not okay. What a semicolon does in JavaScript is that you are terminating that function. What a comma does is that you are still continuing on the next line. Like, let's use the analogy of full stop. Once you write a full stop when you're making a sentence, the next thing you do is you start with a capital letter. That means that particular sentence has ended. But when you are writing your code, once you use a semicolon, it tells your code that, okay, I have this line of code, it has terminated. That means at the end, once you see this semicolon, that means terminate this function. That means it is done. Let me just use that word. But when you see a comma, it means that there are still other lines of code that are coming afterwards. Do you understand, Chinelo?
Yes, I do.
All right. So, Adilaja, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Sir, please,
Yeah,
sorry, this VAR, please, can you say something about it again? This VAR, this username. That's my first question, sir.
okay.
Then
The
my
VAR
second
is
question,
actually
okay.
okay. Ask your second question. Ask your second question.
Okay, sir. Second question is this object and primitive, they are types of what? I didn't get
Right.
that.
Okay,
And
I'm going to.
also, this age that you put 30, there's no string. Why is it like that? Those are the three questions, please.
I'm going to explain the different kind. I'm still getting there. That's a different kind of data type. So the first thing is var is a very old way of writing lets. So I can reassign a var. Let me use this. Username equals James Brown. James Brown. So if you check some old code base before 2020, you will actually see some things like let, some things like var. You can see now, I am reassigning the username from Femi Blaze to James Brown. So
Yes.
that is what a var is also used to assign variable. So for a
Okay.
let,
It's immutable.
it's mutable. Yeah, it's actually mutable. But in modern JavaScript, you will rarely see a var. You rarely see var in modern JavaScript. What you will just be seeing all through your code is let and const. So I just had to add that there because if you probably okay, you get a job in probably InterSwitch. InterSwitch has been before 2020. And what if you are checking through their code base, some old legacy code base, and you see that okay, there's something like var, you'll be like confused. When they were teaching me JavaScript, they didn't tell me what is var. You now start asking. So I'm just trying to give the analogy that
Understood,
var.
sir.
Yeah, all right.
The second one.
Okay, what's the second
Object
question?
and the object and the primitive. What are they are types of what,
Okay,
sir?
okay. There are okay. I would like to say there are type of ways you store values in JavaScript actually. Okay, the object is that you are holding everything, something common to a particular individual. Now you can see that if I actually wanted to write something previously, if I actually want to write everything about something previously, I'll do a list, first name, Samson, surname, surname John, age,
Yes.
party, nationality, Spain, city, Madrid. But with an object, everything that relates to something, I can put everything all together and just assign one variable to it. That is what an object does. It puts together everything that is similar to a value. Let me just use something like that. Let me use that kind of analogy. Everything that is similar to a person, you can use an object to assign everything all together, and you are still going to have the same result instead of trying to separate them one after the other. When you use an object, everything stands together. And for now, when you now come to primitive data type, that is where there are 7 different kind of primitive data type, which is number, which is this, which is what I did for age. Let age equals 30. There's a string. Oh, sorry. You can see when I wanted to put a comma right there, it was complaining. So you can't use, if you're not using an object, you can't use a comma. You have to use a semicolon.
Yes.
So you have 7 different kind of data type, which is number, string, let's first name equals John. Oh, I've already assigned, I have first name up there. Let's use school. School equals OAU. I don't know if anybody is from OAU here, but I'm actually a proud graduate of Obafemi Awolowo University. And there's also something called boolean. A boolean is true or false. Those are the two kind of that's the value a boolean can accept. Is either true or false. Let me use string. Let me write this here. let's do this. Let's full age. Let full equals true. This is just telling you that okay, a boolean can either be true or false. This is boolean. You can see my VS Code is actually giving me some intelligent option. There's also something called undefined. What is an undefined? An undefined is an empty string. Let's do country, for example, and you do this. This is an undefined variable. Adelaja, are you understanding?
Yes, I'm following.
Are you understanding? You can either
following,
do this, you can either do this for an empty string, you can either use an empty string like this, or you just do something like this. You might not put the equals to, you can just do something like this. This is an empty string. This is an undefined rather. This is an undefined. And you have a null, you have let states equals nu. So this is another kind of data. It's also, you can also call this as undefined actually, but it's actually not undefined. Do you understand? This null is actually a data type on its own. It's actually a data type. It's also an empty string. Some people do actually make that mistake of actually assigning a null instead of an empty string. If you are assigning an empty string, that means the variable is yet to be defined. But a null is also an empty string. You might not, if you are checking code base, you might necessarily not see where people are writing null. It's actually on rare occasions people actually write null. But what they use most frequently is actually undefined. So there are two different, you can either use null and undefined. People use it interchangeably. So don't get confused. Sometimes someone can come and use a null, and sometimes someone can use undefined. And also there's something called symbol. There's also something called symbol. I've not used symbol before, but it's also a data type. There are values that are very unique that can't be changed. A symbol is actually okay. I think something like pi. Something like pi. I can't remember now, but I think it's actually pi. Pi are something that symbols are something that can't change across all code base. So let me console.log pi and see console.log symbol. Okay, it's going to console.log symbol. For most of these things, the most frequent one you actually probably be using all through your code base is actually number, string, and boolean, and sometimes undefined. Those are the ones you're actually going to be using most frequently. It's only on few occasions, if you are working in a fintech company, let me use that for example. If you are working in a fintech company, that is where you're actually going to be using 3.75.
So can you bring it up a little bit?
Okay. So can you see it now?
Yes.
Can you see this? Someone was asking something. I didn't use a quote in OAE or something.
No.
All right. So that's an explanation. So the no, when I said no.
So you didn't add dot in front of the console, sir.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. That's an oversight. No is also something that is empty. It also means an empty variable. That's why I said you can also use null and undefined interchangeably. But most times you won't see someone explicitly defining undefined, explicitly defining null in their code base actually. You won't see someone explicitly defining undefined in their code base. Is being null in their code base is actually null they would actually define. I'm actually struggling with this symbol, but symbol is actually a data type actually. It's actually a data type and which you probably not use over and over again. As I've mentioned, the most frequent one you actually be using is this 5 actually, and there's something called big int. There's also a data type called big int. That's big int is large integers. Like if you want to write a billion and something like that, that's where you use big int. That's where you use big int. I'm coming just a second. Big int, big integer, big integer. So big integer. I'm trying to remember this at this point because I don't use big integers. Big integers are for something like if you want to write a billion, something that has like a number of decimal places and the likes. That is what you use big int for actually. So do you is there any question? Is there any question, please? Is there any question? Big int, yeah, but it's not big int because let's use 333333, but it's still throwing an error. So for that pi, let's do this. Does anyone have any question? Damnola, go ahead, please.
For that number, I don't know if you can also do what you did to that string so that we can use the number. That late age 30.
If you can actually, what do you mean by let age? Okay, I should
No,
put the
no,
number.
like what you did, yeah, what you did, like you put string, boolean, something like that, so that we
Okay, I
can
should put
know.
it so you can understand it properly. So this is it actually. So string number boolean undefined pi which equals that's 3.1445. Yeah. So that's it. So does anyone have any question? Is there still any question, please? Is there any question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. The pi you use, is it when you want to, perhaps you want to find an area of a circle or something like that? And I don't really
Yeah,
understand
sure.
big integer.
I said big integers are for actually big numbers. Are for big numbers, something like okay, big numbers. You know that there are some numbers that if you write in your calculator, by the time those number gets too long, it's going to throw an error. It's going to throw an error, something like that. If you multiply some numbers on your calculator, they're actually going to throw an error. So the best way you actually just write it in your code is actually using something called integer. Big int. That's what it's for. Actually, do you understand? Was it Chinelo that asked that question? I think I can still understand your voice.
Yes,
I can
yes.
see. All right. So is there anyone still having any question? Yeah. Thank you, Stanley. Thank you, Stanley, for outlining that in the chat box. Damn, Lola, your hand is raised.
Sorry, it was a mistake.
All right. So in JavaScript also, there are still in JavaScript also you can still do basic arithmetic operations such as. Bro, Latifa, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir. So this object
You sounded loud the other time, but I think you're using a earpiece or a earpod.
No, sir.
I can hear you clearly now.
Hey, sir. I'm saying this object primitive. Is it that we can pick one to use or we have to use it in our code?
Okay. Now, if by the time sometimes you would, it depends on what you want to achieve actually. So now let's say for example, you are going to actually work with object most when you are calling API, when you are getting details from an external source, because all details are going to come in form of an object, which you are now going to destructure. When we get into asynchronous programming and we're going to call APIs, you will understand why you are going to use an object. But basically, when you are writing something in your code and it's just a singular details, you are not adjoining details all together. That's where you make use of, what will I call it, of these primitive values. Primitive values is always something you are going to be using, or okay, you just want to assign a single variable, but you now have a group of data you want to align together. You can see now in our objects, you can assign all kind of data type. You can assign all kind of data type to your object, which is true. We can also assign an undefined. Yeah, let's write something like let's something like obis. I also did a semicolon here. You can assign something like obis, and we just put an undefined. So an object can accept all kind of data type, from object to from age to number to boolean to undefined. It can accept it, but a primitive value can just accept one. Boluwatife, do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understand.
Okay. All right. And also, yeah, as Stanley has said, you can also assign an array. I don't want to include array in this point, because when we begin to make use of them, when we get to some advanced JavaScript, to make use of array. Yeah, Paul, what's your question?
Okay, I just wanted to ask, what about if else statements? Is it part of object
Those
or
are those are decisions. If else statements are decisions in JavaScript, not a data type.
okay.
Yeah, so we are going to get to decision making in JavaScript. That's why you are going to be making use of something like if else statements. So now let's do some basic JavaScript, some basic mathematical operations in JavaScript. You can actually do mathematical operations such as addition, the normal, what do I call it? The normal arithmetic operations we have in mathematical functions. You can also do it in JavaScript. Hilary, your hand is raised. What's your question? Please be fast.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just need more light on that object and primitive. Is it like div?
No, I'm not. Don't bring HTML into JavaScript. They are two different things.
Okay, sir. So just help me throw
I
small light
mean,
on it.
I mean that an object, if you can look at it now, this object now, you can see I have so many details inside an object, which is holding so many data, and I don't need to start destructuring them one after the other. If I want to get the first name out of this object, I can just do something like Samson.firstname. That is, I am getting the data one after the other. That's for an object. So the object is holding all kind of data type, and object is most frequently used when you are making external API calls. That is what an object is being used for. But for you to just assign normal variable, which you are going to be using in your code base, you have to use, yeah, you can either use or you can actually assign a number, a string, a boolean, an undefined, or a big int. Do you understand, Hilary?
Yes, I'm understanding, sir.
Yeah. All right. So do you have any further question before I go into arithmetic operations? Or George, do you want to shed more light on that? George. Okay, so let's continue. So let's do an addition in JavaScript. So arithmetic operation. Arithmetic operations. Or let's use basic operations. Hilary is already scared. Hilary is already scared when he heard arithmetic operations. Basic operations, which include plus, minus, that's addition, multiplication, division, subtraction, and the like. So any arithmetic operation you can actually perform it in Java. Genevieve, what's your question? Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I want to ask concerning the commenting.
Okay.
I'm saying 3, I'm saying 4, the forward slash, I'm saying 2. So any number can work.
Any number aside 1. Any number aside 1. Any number
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so that's just it. Any number aside 1. So for your basic arithmetic operations, you would do this. Let's just do age. Okay, age is already defined there. What should I? Let addition. Let addition equals 2024 minus 1994. That's console.log addition. So this is just a simple JavaScript. Obvious is not defined. Obvious is undefined. Obvious should be undefined, but so this is a basic JavaScript operation. You can see 30. And let's do something. Let's also carry out sub addition. So any kind of mathematical operation you want to do with JavaScript, you can actually do it. You can also do division, which is this. Sorry, please, are you understanding what I'm doing? You can see when I did a division, it gave us this. And we can also use a multiplication. So these are the basic JavaScript operations that we are doing. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Because if you are dealing with numbers, how do you think our fintech, how do you think they do the addition of our numbers and division, addition of all the transactions you are making on your bank application? They do it through, excuse me, they actually do it through the normal basic operations we do in JavaScript. So that's how we do that. Those are the basic operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So do we understand? Any question on that? Sorry, any question? So, Paul, go ahead. Sorry, the comment section is actually, the chat box is actually hilarious. So, Paul, go ahead. I'm listening to you. Paul, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me, sir? I
Yeah, I
nearly
can hear
say,
you.
can you see me? I had the touch. My head the touch. So
It's fine, actually.
yeah. So you are using let addition, right? But that
Yeah.
means you define let addition to be because whatever thing that you do on the right hand side.
Yes, so that's just a normal arithmetic operation.
Okay. But you know that the next one that you did was multiplication, but because you already defined the let to be because that's why.
No, I'm not seeing. Okay, I think you're actually confusing let. See, what I'm doing here, I'm not reassigning the variable. You can see now, even if I do a const addition, 2024 equal is still going to be the same thing. I'm not reassigning the variable. You can see it's still going to give me the same thing. I am just changing the value that is assigned to it. If what
Yeah,
reassignment means is
that's
that I have done const addition. I now come to another line. I now do addition equals 2025 plus 2030. This is what reassignment means. That means you have defined it first of all. You are now coming to another line and reassigning it again. That is what reassignment means. It's not as if I am, with what I did, you can see that on this line, it's telling me assignment to a const variable.
no,
So
sir, you
that
did
means
not
I
get
am
my question.
reassigning. Okay, what's your question?
No, what I was trying to let you know is that you've already said let addition equals 2024 minus 1994. Then you just only change the sign to multiplication to
Yes.
division, right?
Yes.
And now you console log addition. It means that you don't need to you've already defined for the let already. So what you are just changing
I'm
is
just
just
changing
those
the value that is
multiplication.
assigned to it, actually. That's just it.
Okay. That was what I wanted to be clarified.
Yeah. Chinelo, go ahead. What's your question? Chinelo, go ahead. What's your question?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Chinelo, your voice is actually low. I can't hear you. It seems you are far away from your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Your voice is still far away.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly now. Go ahead.
Okay, I noticed something in that const addition. I thought the addition is plus, but you are changing the operator and it's still having effect. So I just want to understand why the operator is still having effect when it's not a division nor subtraction, but addition.
How is the okay now? I did something here now. Okay, let's start. Okay, I think I was not that confused you. So let's do addition plus, let's do multiplication here. Const multiplication equals 2024 multiplied by 1994. Let's do const division equals 2024 divided by 1994. Const subtraction equals 2024 minus 1994. So now let's console log everything all together. So this second one is multiplication. This other one is division. This other one is subtraction. So you can see everything are going to work differently. What I was just doing then was I was changing the arithmetic operation which was going on here. The what will I call it? The name, the variable name attached to it does not matter what is the arithmetic operation that is going on behind it. Chinelo, do you understand? If I write an addition here, I can actually carry out a multiplication there. It doesn't actually matter. It's just that is the variable name. Addition is the variable name, not the action that is going to be carried out. Chinelo, do you understand?
Yes, sir. So it means that one can practice this without any problem.
What did you say?
I said, hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I'm trying to say that one can practice this method, coding without anything in JavaScript. I saying the
No,
practice is professional.
Yeah, you can practice it. You can practice it. It's just you assigning a variable name and you carrying out a different arithmetic operation behind it. Yeah, George, go ahead, please.
Okay. Hello, Chinelu. So let me try and explain this a little bit further. Now, when you do multiplications or additions in JavaScript, it doesn't mean that you have to say const addition. You understand? I can do multiple additions at different points of what I'm trying to do. So I can say addition 1, addition 2, addition 3. I can do addition 1000, or let's say addition X. I like using X, for instance, addition X1. So the variable name doesn't really matter. It's the operation that is going on, and if you know where it is happening or what have you assigned it to something you can understand or you can remember. Now, the thing here is we always use the name for it because it's easier. If I'm doing an addition, I probably will use an addition so that when I'm searching for what I did previously, I can easily check that it's an addition. Do you get? So when he did the first one and maybe did addition and said more and did a division in the operation he did, the system doesn't really recognize that the word addition has meaning. It's just assigning it a variable. So it could easily have said const X and said 2024 times 1994. Do you understand? So the most important thing is we use those conventions. It's just following the right convention, but understanding that whatever I assign is what the computer, the system itself is going to recognize. So you're just assigning the value regardless. So you can have multiple additions, multiple subtractions, multiple multiplications as the case may be. Do you understand now?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Paul. Yeah, so does anyone still have any question with JavaScript fundamentals? There are still so many fundamentals you're going to look at. Like, okay, Dambela, go ahead.
I just want to ask, so is there a way that without just having to console log everything one by one, we can just in one of those console log be able to put in all the variables? Is there a way?
Yes, you can actually do that. You just do it like this. You can do a multiple console.log on one line. Actually do multiple console.log on one line, and let's do this, and let's console this, and let's delete this. And I'm also going to talk about something called template literal. You can see everything is all console log on one line. So before we end this class, let me talk about something called template literal. Hello, Adilaja, your hand was you're muted.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I didn't hear that part. You said console literal.
Mike.
Sir, you can go on, sir. You can go on.
Okay, can anybody hear me?
Yes, sir, we
Yes,
can.
we can hear you.
Okay, I think he has a little bit network issue. So if you have any question, you can basically ask me now. Do you have any question? You can speak. You can Adelaja, you can speak.
Okay, sir. Sir, please, I just want you to just quickly throw more light on how to use the alert. The alert.
Alert. Oh, okay.
Yes.
What else? Is that all? Okay, can I have another question?
Can you hear me, sir?
Boluwatife, okay, what else? Yeah, I can hear you, Boluwatife.
I wanted you to like throw more light on this last one that you just taught us. The console multiplication addition. I didn't really get it.
Okay, so let me be as fast as possible. I'm going to use my method of teaching, which is use very simple things to assign it, right? So follow me. We have a basket, right? I say my basket is const. I say I have a const basket. Think of a normal basket. Just think of a normal basket. Have you thought about it? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Have you thought of a normal basket? Just think of a normal basket.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now, I have 2 oranges, right? I have 2 oranges in that basket. I have said that my basket is what? Const basket. I now carry 2 oranges and I put 1 orange in the basket and I add 1 orange in that basket. How many oranges do I have? 2, right?
Yes,
I
sir.
have
Yes,
2,
sir.
right? Good. Now, I now remove the 2 oranges. I removed the 2 oranges and I said, this is still the basket. And I say, still const basket. I still leave the name the same way. But instead, I want to do a multiplication inside that basket. Do you understand? Now, the whole idea of this, the reason why you were confused in the first place was that he was using different names. The variable names were different from the action he was doing. So an addition is just basically 1 plus 1. So if I say const basket and I say 1 plus 1, regardless of whether I said is const addition or const division or const anything, that operation 1 plus 1 is going to happen. Do you understand? It's just going to happen. Because if I console the log basket, it's just going to do whatever I did and after my equal to sign. Now, if I say const basket equals to 1 plus 1, if I do console the log basket, I'm going to have 2. Even if I now change this basket to addition, I'm still going to have 2. If I change the addition to multiplication, I'm still going to have 2. Do you know why? Because the system is not reading the meaning of whatever I'm doing here. I am only the only person who understands the meaning. I'm just giving it a name. I can even give it the name of X. Do you understand? So don't allow the name really affect you. What is the most important thing is, what is this thing doing? Is it doing a 2 plus 2, a 3 times 3, a 4 plus 4? I can assign it any name. Do you understand? So the console.log is just going to read the action that had taken place after the equal to sign. So even if I say subtract 2 plus 2, even if I say cons subtract equals 2 plus 2, if I do cons subtract, it's going to give me 4, because the system doesn't read the meaning of the word subtract. You are the one giving it meaning. The system is just saying SUBTRCT. Do you get? Yes. But the reason why we use the name itself is so that if you're coding, you want to understand what you did now. So that if you go and search for subtract, you don't go and see that it was adding something for your own sake. You get? So we can always say const addition. That's why I said you can use addition X, addition Y, addition whatever. And then when it comes to the alert is just a function that is embedded in JavaScript itself. Do you understand? It's just embedded. So if you do, it's like console.log. If you do an alert, let's say welcome, when you open your browser, you're just going to see welcome drop down. Do you get? It's embedded in JavaScript itself. So that's what it means.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, George. I don't know, my network just kicked me out and you stood in for me. Thank you very much. Yeah, Adela, your hand is raised. Or George,
I
was it
just
Adelaide
finished
that was
asking
supposed
a
to be
question.
answered? Oh, okay. All right. So
Yeah, yes.
I wanted to talk about what's the name? Template literal, string and template literal before my network kicked me out, which is what is template literal? You know, if you want to console.log something, if you are console logging something and you have a text and a variable name, this is how we want to console log addition, subtraction, and multiplication. I want to have a text in front of it. Let's do something like this. Console.log. You have to do a quotation. This is addition. And for you to be able to add this number, you have to do this. You have to now add addition in front of it. So it's going to give you the number in front of it. So let's check it out. You can see that we have on line 60, we have this, but with template literal, you can actually write a variable name inside your console.log without giving it a space. And this is how we do that using template literal. And you would actually still use that if you are calling some API. So, but let me just show you the fundamentals of how to use it. We do this. And if you check on your keyboard, there's something called backtick. And with your backticks, you can just copy the same thing without having to write any break, having to write any comma. Just do this console, and you have your $sign and your square bracket and your curly braces rather. This is addition, and I can still continue on line 61. So you can see that with JavaScript, with template literal, I can keep writing any text, and I can also write a variable name together with it, and it still continues. It still console log everything I have. But if I want to do it with what I did right here, with what I have on line 60, I have to do something like this. Addition on, I have to do a plus. I have to do something like a plus and this plus on line 60. And with this and with what I did on line 60, everything is going to be modeled together. Let's check it out. Everything is going to be modeled together on. So what you have to do here is you have to create an empty string for this also, which you just have to put a plus in front of it and have an empty string. But with template literal, you don't need to worry about the space or anything. The space is automatically done. So do you understand? Yeah, the first one is concatenation. Sorry, it skipped my mind. The first one here is the one we did on line 60. This is concatenation. And what we did on line 61 is template literal. So do you understand the difference between template literal and concatenation? Sorry, hello? Hello, can anyone hear me? Am I still?
Yes, sir.
Can you still hear me?
I have a question.
Okay. Does anyone? Yeah, go ahead, please.
You say conquer what?
Concatenation. Yes.
Like,
Concatenation is you adding a text and a variable name together so that I can give you a whole line of sentence. You can see here on line 60, I added a text from the beginning. This is addition, and I wanted to write this addition. This is the sum. This is the sum of adding of adding to 2024. Let me just use 2024 and 1994 together on line 60. So with this, I am able to write what concatenation does. I'm able to write a text and also able to write a variable name on the same line, and it gives me a perfect result. So you can see now, when I did a console.log, it does what? It console logs everything, but with this, I have to put a quotation mark. I have to put quotation mark and also a plus so that everything will be added all together to give me a whole string, a whole sentence. That is what concatenation does. But with template literal, I don't need to add the plus sign. I just need to write everything like a whole sentence, even without putting the string, without putting the quotation and every other thing. Even if there is a space, even if it's aligned, even if it's joined together, let me use that word. If it's joined together, there would be a space directly there. So you can see that it automatically gives it a space even without me adding the space. So do you understand the differences between concatenation and template literal?
Okay, sir.
Do we understand?
Okay, sir. The reason why we are not I am not understanding this is that one of my mind is here on this call, on this today's class, and another mind is on LMS. So I think we will understand it at time.
Okay, don't worry. Just one thing I'll just advise you to do is just calm down and go over it again. You can also read. That's why I said, if you can remember what I said from the beginning of the class, that JavaScript is a place whereby some people run away once they begin to hear JavaScript, and once they begin to start from the beginning, it becomes so complicated because you are not actually seeing what you are getting, what you are implementing in your code. You are not seeing it on the interface. You have to put your developer to check the console to see what you are doing. So it looks kind of abstract. JavaScript kind of look abstract, but it's actually fun. So let me end the class here today, and we continue from there in the next class. That was on Friday. So
I have a question.
just yeah, go ahead. Who is that?
It's Adelaja, sir. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Adelaja.
Sir, please, in that confraternization, consentization,
I
the
said
dollar sign.
wait. Wait, I'm coming. You don't allow me to remove my teeth in this class. Concatenation.
Okay, yes. Okay, concatenation. Okay.
Yeah.
Please, what's the usefulness of the dollar sign there, please, sir?
I didn't use dollar sign in concatenation. I used dollar sign in template literal.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, I mean on the template literal. Sorry, sir. Concatenation don't confuse me.
What that dollar sign means? What that dollar sign is doing there is to assign this variable, to be able to call this variable on line 54 inside that sentence. If I don't do that, it's going to assume that this addition is a single text. It's going to look at it that this addition is a single text, and it's not going to give us the result of the addition. Let's check our console. You can see index 61
Okay.
is the sum of 2024 plus together addition, but with us calling the variable right here, it's going to give us the result of what is on line 54 inside what we are console logging. Do you understand, Adelaja?
Yes, I understand now, sir.
All right. So Paul, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
No, my hand raised. What I want to ask? No, I'll wait.
Sir, I want to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning,
Yes,
sir.
you're right.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir,
Yeah, good afternoon.
please. I noticed that whenever I arrange my files on HTML, like I arrange my files and I want to push it to GitHub, it will not work unless I bring out the files. Like you taught us how to arrange files. The pages, the styles should be on a page. The HTML file is only the index that should be outside. So I did that, but it's not
Yeah,
working unless I bring
how
it
is it
out
not
of those
working?
files.
Let's try that. Let's try that in this class. Let's do Java JS. So now I'm going to move this our JavaScript file into our index.js. So we have moved this, and let's check our HTML if it's properly linked. You can see, let's do ./js/. So now, Chinelo, is Chinelo still on this call? Yeah, Chinelo, kindly watch the way I'm going to push to GitHub now. So now let me go to our browser and create a GitHub repository for this.
Special case.
So, yeah. So I'm going to create a GitHub repository for this. Oh, sorry, it's taking a while to load. Why? I didn't know I was going to do this. I created a repository. So let's check it out. So you know the syntax, which is just we start with what is called git init. Before that opens up, let me just start I can still remember the syntax in my head, which is the first one is git init. The next one is a git add. This is git add dot. You can see. Yes, right. I didn't need to remove everything from it before it goes.
Okay.
So I just did a git add dot. I do a git commit dash m, which is JavaScript class. And I do a git branch dash m main. So I have to, my GitHub is not opening. So the next line of code I'm going to actually write should be, if I've created the GitHub repository, I just do what? I just push it to the repository. But I've not been able to create a repository on my GitHub because GitHub is taking a while to load. But that's just the simple way of trying to push to GitHub. You don't have to once you do a git add dot, everything of your folder is going to add one after the other. Yes, Sirat.
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir.
Yeah, just do a git add. After you have done your git init, just do a git add dot, and everything is going to add.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Second question, sir.
So,
if I've done responsiveness for tablets, so when I checked, when I inspect, and I inspect for mobile, everything is working, but I've not done and I've not written any code for mobile. Did I still need to write for mobile?
Well, in that case, you have done something. You did for only tablet, and when you checked your mobile device, you saw that everything became so aligned properly.
Yes,
That
everything
means
was.
you did. Yeah, you actually did a good work if you could do that, because most of the time, like I made mention of that, sometimes if you do for a larger screen, the only thing you just have to do is just check everything might align properly. The only thing that might just be different is just a simple spacing on the right or on the left, or the font size, which is something you are going to reduce actually. Because if you do something like, okay, for a tablet screen, you do something like what's the name? You do from a flex row to a flex container. Everything from that tablet downwards is going to be affected by that style. It's actually going to be affected by that style. So you will now have to go to your mobile screen to check that, okay, is this thing aligned properly, or do I need to add more spacing to the right or left, or do I have to reduce the font size? That is how you work with responsiveness actually. So do I understand? Did I answer your question? Yes, you're right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Yeah, so who is next, please? Go ahead.
Sir, please, it's Miriam. It's Pastor.
Yeah, go ahead, Pastor.
Sir, please,
Francisca, please, can you transfer
my LMS start is showing double questions. So I want to know, is it the same thing?
Okay, I'm going to. Yeah, they are both the same thing actually. The what you are going to do is the admin is going to delete one of them before the end of today. They're actually going to delete one of them.
Okay.
So the task is just for you to develop 4 pages. If you check both of them, you see that they are the same task. It's just that when I submitted, it's created twice. So that's just it. So there is no.
Okay. Thank
Just
you.
do this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Olatiloye. Francisca, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
It's the same question I wanted to ask that Pascal just asked now. Yeah. It's concerning the task.
All right.
So can you hear me?
Francisca, go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, just about those pages. From what I got, Paul was asking, we are to create different pages that will link to the index, that's to the home.
Yes.
Like if you click on any of them, it will take you directly there. And we are to do that with Bootstrap.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So please, why do we have just 4 days for it?
It's just, well, that is, we are just given a realistic deadline. We are just given a realistic deadline.
Okay.
Sorry,
sir.
please. Let me. Okay, wait. I'm going to explain. Just a second. Just a second, please. So, please. So we have actually come to the end of today's class, and yeah, just try to practice what you have learned, and you get better with JavaScript. So don't give up at this point. Thank you very much. Do enjoy the day.